All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting of April 2nd, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everyone in the room to please mute your cell phones or other electronic devices. And I'll ask the village manager to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Apatow? Trustee Orsic?
Here.
Trustee Handler? Here. Trustee Dearborn? Here. Trustee Albinson?
Here.
Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
President Rentz?
Here. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Trustee Orsic has agreed to lead us this evening.
Public stands, nation, justice for all.
Okay, item 3 is quorum check. Rob, you want to go ahead and check for the upcoming
Sure.
meetings?
Next two meetings, April 9th and the 16th. Bob, I think I had you as being remote. Okay. All right. You else have a conflict for those meeting dates? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. One second, hang on here. I just got to get my agenda sorted out here. Okay. John Phelan, are you speaking on One Winnetka, or are you speaking on something different? One Winnetka. Okay, then I won't include you in this call-up. All right, well, now is public comment. This is the time of the evening where anybody here in the audience can come on up to the podium and share your thoughts with Village Council. Would anybody like to speak this morning? Ted, I know you signed up. I have a hand up here, so I'll let this lady come first. Come on up. Hello? Yeah. I think you raised your hand. Yeah, just over at the microphone.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Karen Kennedy. I have the great pleasure of living across the street from the Croy Island Woods. I'm a third-generation Winnetka person. My mom was in the Olympics in 1952 at age 17, grew up on Maple and Elm, and I grew up on Forest Glen, where my father still owns a house for 65 years, and I'm on Willow Road. Anyways, I'm here on behalf of my concern about what's going to happen with the Croy Island School.
I know it's confusing
all
if you
I'm
haven't
gonna
been
say
here. No,
is-
but we have public comment for everything that's not on the agenda.
Oh, that's not on the agenda?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear tonight because
Okay, I'm just trying
slow.
to abide by the
No, so when that comes up, which
good
will be in a
design,
few
solve
minutes.
a lot of problems, so we'll go back on that later.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that, by the way. All right, Ted.
Hi, Ted Winchenko. Yep, I knew the distinction. In any case, how are you all tonight? So first, as promised, I just am here to remind you that it's April, so in about 10 weeks, by OMA, you guys will have to again review whether or not to keep closed session meeting minutes confidential. And there are two closed sessions from a year or so ago which deal with setting a price for a piece of property that the village no longer owns and has disposed of. And it seems illogical that those meeting minutes, which were only for the purpose of setting a price, need to remain confidential. And so when it comes time, I hope the council will, in the spirit of open and honest government, look at that and release those minutes. Minutes really won't say much anyway, so it seems a minor thing. Now, since I can't come up here and talk about that for 3 minutes every time I come, I have other things we'll talk about. So I did a little Post-it note calculation here, and it appears that, give or take, the Park District has about 2,200 feet of shoreline in Winnetka. The village has about 1,100 feet of shoreline in Winnetka. So some of that is, of course, the power plant, and these are just me doing rough calculations. But it's interesting to me that there's been all this talk about how the Park District is doing and what they're doing with these small pieces of property, and yet the village owns 1,100 feet, including sections at Spruce and Willow up at the ravine, which over decades the village has made decisions. Spruce had stairs, and they were there for the public, not just staff. Willow, if you look at the pictures from before the 1990s, there are stairs built into the concrete at Willow, but of course that's all fenced off. Not to mention parking, which we'll talk at another meeting. But it's interesting that the village has taken this position, this high position of being above the fray and working for the people when it comes to all the angst that's been going on about the park district and what's going on in the beach. And at the same time, the village is failing to enforce the bare minimum of what the council had already set. Spruce should have stairs. Why did the village take the stairs away, and why doesn't the council say, you know what, 20 years ago, that was the decision. We need to maintain those stairs. There are encroachments into the public right-of-ways along most of the streets going to the lake. The village, immediately when planters were put in on, like, was it Cherry, like, went to court to get those planters removed from the easement. But along the lake shore, those encroachments are allowed to be maintained. And it just makes it look like, intentionally or not, that there is a difference in how the village treats issues for those property owners along the lake shore versus the rest of the community. Whether intentional or not, that's the appearance. Appearance is reality.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment and we'll move forward. Item 5 is the trustee reports. Start with Tina. Kirk?
No report.
Bob? It's quick. Kim? No report. Bridget?
No report.
No report.
Village attorney?
No report tonight.
Village manager?
No report this evening.
And village president. I don't have a report. Okay, item 6 is establishment of the consent agenda. Okay, trustee Dearborn has requested that the March 12, 2024 study session minutes of the village council be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion. Without objection, the approval of those minutes will be removed from the consent agenda for a separate vote. Does any trustee wish to remove any other items on the consent agenda? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now I'll ask the village manager to read the approval of the consent agenda items.
Thank you. Approval of the village council meeting minutes for March 5th, 2024, regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated March 8th, 2024 through March 21st, 2024 in the amount of $2,219.02. Resolution number R24, 2024, approving an outdoor dining agreement with Paradise Food Italia LLC, doing business as Toco, for adoption. Resolution number R38, 2024, upholding the Landmark Preservation Commission issuance of a demolition delay pursuant to section 15.52.070 of the Village Code.
Thanks, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Item 8, ordinances and resolutions. The first one is ordinance number M02, 2024, granting an amendment to a special use permit, variations from the Winnetka zoning ordinance, and a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of improvements to an existing playground within the B1 multifamily residential district. This is Sacred Heart School, 1095 Gage Street, and it's up for introduction and possibly adoption. Tonight, council will consider a request submitted by the applicant proposing improvements to an already existing playground on the school grounds. And Assistant Community Development Director Ann Clausen is here to review it. Take it away,
Thank you,
Ann.
President Rentz. Good evening, trustees. This evening, the council will consider an ordinance granting an amendment to an existing special use permit, zoning variations, which are listed here, and a certificate of appropriateness to allow improvements to an existing playground within the B1 multifamily residential zoning district at Sacred Heart School. The school is located on the north side of Gage Street between Green Bay Road and Gordon Terrace, and it's just west of what's often referred to as Gage Alley. The property is located in the B1 district, as I just mentioned, and it is bordered by R5 single-family residential to the north, west, and south, as well as B1 to the south and C2 general retail commercial to the east. In addition to multifamily residential uses, the B1 district does allow a limited range of additional uses with approval of a special use permit, which includes educational uses such as a private elementary school. These are current photos of the site, which were provided by the applicant. The basketball hoops that you can see, as well as the fencing in the photo on the left, would be removed. In the photo on the right, you can see the existing play equipment that would be replaced and the wood chip play surface that would be removed. The asphalt that you also see in these photos would be removed. These are additional current photos of the site representing the existing conditions. The proposed plan consists of redevelopment of the existing play area that is located on the north side of the school. The proposed improvements include replacement of the existing play equipment, including relocating the basketball hoops that we saw in the previous slides, installation of a rubberized play surface, installation of an artificial turf field, replacement of perimeter fencing, and installation of landscaping buffers. So as you saw in those photos, the previous photos, nearly the entire site on the north side of the school currently consists of asphalt. The proposed plan includes replacing a large portion of the asphalt in the northwest corner of the site with an artificial turf field that would be approximately 7,500 square feet. This field and the rubberized poured-in-place play surface, which would be approximately 2,600 square feet, would be set back 8 feet from the north and west property lines. The new play equipment would be located approximately 14 feet from the north property line, which is considered the rear property line. For reference, the existing equipment is currently set back approximately 7.5 feet from that north lot line. In terms of the proposed fencing, the red lines that you can see here along the west and north property lines represent the proposed 8-foot-high vinyl fence. The yellow lines represent the proposed 6-foot-tall vinyl fence. And then the navy line that you can see at the northeast corner of the school building, that represents the location of existing chain link fencing that would be replaced with the same material. The applicant has also provided these renderings of the play equipment to represent the general design of the proposed playground. The rubberized poured-in-place surface would also be in a red and gray color combination. So 4 variations are being requested to allow the improvements. In terms of impermeable lot coverage, it is important to note that the applicant does intend to provide the necessary infiltration system under the proposed turf and rubberized play surface to qualify for a 25% allowance in the calculation of the impermeable lot coverage for the turf and play surface. So once the final design of that system is determined, the village engineering department will review the plan and verify whether the system meets the required standards in order to qualify for that allowance. If the allowance does apply, the proposed impermeable lot coverage would actually represent a decrease of nearly 517 square feet from what is currently an existing non-conforming impermeable lot coverage. The setback variations would allow the proposed turf and the rubberized play surface to provide that 8-foot setback that I noted previously. And lastly, most of the proposed fencing would be 8 feet in height, which exceeds the permitted height of 6.5 feet. Based on their respective authority, all 3 advisory bodies have unanimously recommended approval of the proposed project. Staff received 1 written comment from the public in support of the project, which was included in the agenda materials provided to all 3 advisory bodies and also included in your materials for this evening. Additionally, I'd like to note that the DRB heard one verbal comment at its meeting from one member who expressed overall support of the project, but concern with the stormwater flowing to the north, as well as the aesthetic of the proposed vinyl fence as viewed from the residential neighbors to the north of the site. The applicant at the DRB meeting did explain that the proposed stormwater improvement plan, as well as a 3-foot landscape buffer along the north, would mitigate any stormwater. They also explained that they are willing to work with the neighbors in terms of the design of the proposed 8-foot vinyl fence. So ultimately, the DRB did recommend approval of the request as proposed and currently before you this evening. So regarding the stormwater management, the Village Engineering Department has reviewed their proposed plan and finds the proposed management plan acceptable. Now, final engineering approval is pending submittal and review of final engineering plans, which are required upon submittal of the necessary permits in order to construct the proposed improvements. They are waiting to receive approval for the ordinance before you this evening before submitting the necessary permits. Additionally, the applicant is working with MWRD to receive the necessary permits. So given all 3 advisory bodies unanimously recommended approval, the council may wish to consider waiving introduction of the ordinance, approving the request, and adopt the ordinance this evening. The draft ordinance is found on page 29 of your agenda packet, and I have nothing further unless you have questions for staff.
Okay, does anybody have questions for Ann at this point?
I just had a question of why the increase in, is there a reason for the increase in the fence that is
Well,
from
the
6 and a half?
proposed fence is 8 feet along the west, a portion of the west property line, and then along the north. I think primarily the intent for the additional height is to try to keep some of the balls from the playground on the school property.
Yeah, I would think neighbors would welcome the taller fence.
Get better shots.
Yeah. I did have a question. That's, of all of this, it looks like a great design, and certainly the school looks like it could use the upgrade, and the kids will be excited. But do you have, I'm trying to picture what a vinyl fence looks like. I mean, I know they said they're going to work with the neighbors, but is this a solid kind of
It
fence?
is,
It's an
yes,
open, oh.
it's solid.
And what color would it be?
They were doing
gonna
more of
work
a
on it.
gray wood
Okay.
tone, if you will.
Okay. But otherwise, it looks great.
Yeah.
Others? No? Okay, well, is there anybody from the applicant here who would like to address council on this? You don't have to, Kathy, but
Okay.
can you tell us how much you need it and all that stuff? Yes. Good.
My name is Kathy Janiga, and it's very strange to be on this side of the podium. I am a longtime parishioner of Sacred Heart, now Divine Mercy, and because this is spring break week over at the school, I got the short straw to come and talk to you about this. This is really a much needed and much valued and a great improvement to the property, as you can see from the parking lot photos that were submitted with the application. The school has done a lot of work to make sure that they're keeping the activities on the property. And our experts, some of whom are here tonight, have been working with village staff to make sure that we especially meet the drainage requirements. And so with that, we would ask for your approval and possibly even waiver of introduction. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Kathy? No? Thanks. Thank you.
Ask one question?
Sure.
Kathy, what has been the outreach to the neighbors? My understanding, a couple open houses, or?
There were open houses, there were direct communications, I think mailings to the neighbors, and we've never received any negative comments from anybody.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now's the time for public comment on this item. Would anybody like to speak on this item at this time? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any conversation up here? You guys ready to vote? Okay, well,
Hold on.
how do we feel? Go ahead.
I will bring up a comment. Kim alluded to it. The vinyl fence, I love the design, I agree, but I think the vinyl fence needs to be contemplated. I would ask the applicant to truly evaluate this choice. Just personal opinion, depending on, without seeing the material or understanding the manufacturer, it's a recipe for a maintenance issue, especially with balls being kicked against it. If anybody's seen any vinyl fences lately, they're not strong and they don't hold up. And I think aside from aesthetic opinions that I might have about it, I would be concerned for the applicant having to invest a lot of maintenance dollars to replace the vinyl fence as time goes on. So I would encourage the applicant to reconsider that choice. My personal feeling, I'm not crazy about vinyl fences, but it's in a rear yard and a side yard setback, and I'm never going to see it. But it's really a concern for the applicant and the long-term cost to maintain it.
Okay, I'll give counterpoint to that because it is an affordable option, right? And they
Yeah.
generally, I think the quality, we use them in all our communities and we haven't had issues with them, but we haven't had balls. So I'm sure it's a cost issue, right? So
Totally get it, yeah.
Right, I mean, it can be really expensive.
Yeah, in a residential setting, single family, probably a non-issue, but I've just spent a number of years working on school projects myself, and you know, there's a reason why a lot of school products are industrial related. It's because they really do get used and abused. So again, I'm fine approving it as submitted. I would just encourage the applicant to really consider that choice just from a, you know, consideration for long-term cost of maintenance.
Thanks. Others?
I was going to suggest that we could waive introduction.
I was just
and-
going there.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we feel about waiving introduction tonight?
I support that.
Sounds good.
Got three over here. You okay, Bob? Okay. All right, so I'm waiving intro. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M02-2024?
So moved.
Second?
That's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adopt ordinance number M02-2024.
So moved.
Second.
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes,
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Carries.
That motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item up is ordinance number M01-2024, granting preliminary approval of a plan development, zoning exceptions, the special use for ground floor parking, special use findings for medical and financial service uses, and a preliminary plat of subdivision, 511 to 515 Lincoln and 714 to 740 Elm. This is up for adoption. And resolution number R35-2024, approving a development agreement for One Winnetka as well. On March 21st, 2024, council reviews the proposed plan development of a new 4-story mixed-use plan development submitted by the applicant, Murphy Development Group, LLC, for One Winnetka. A representative of the 711 Oak Condominium Association requested that the applicant hold regular meetings during the construction of the project and that the condition be included in the approval documents, which it now has. Tonight, council will consider the adoption of the ordinance and the resolution approving the proposed development agreement. And Community Development Director David Schoen is here to walk us through it again.
I'm just here to answer any questions. You said what I was going to say, President Rentz. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the project and its zoning compliance. Attorney Elrod can get into more detail if you're interested in the development agreement, but I have nothing else to add.
Great. Any questions for David? Okay. Next up will be Village Attorney Peter Friedman to review the development agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you indicated, tonight there's a resolution approving the development agreement that accompanies the plan development ordinance. The development agreement should look fairly similar to those who have been following this property. We've used a similar development agreement for the previous iteration of the development for a private developer, a previous developer, I mean. This development agreement is between the village and the Romspin entity that currently owns the property. It does identify the Murphy Development Group LLC as the developer and likely future owner of the property, so there are provisions in the agreement that allows for that transfer of the obligations and benefits of the development agreement to go to Murphy at the time that transaction is consummated. I did want to spend a minute or two talking about the timeline that is incorporated into the development agreement. The ordinance, the PD ordinance will take effect 10 days after it is approved and the unconditional agreement and consent is signed, and then the development agreement will take effect 30 days after the ordinance has been adopted. Once the development agreement is effective, the developer then has 180 days to file for and complete a complete application for a final development plan. That's the next step in the plan development process. The council is not obligated to, but has the authority to grant one 90-day extension to that submittal deadline. Once that is done, and once the final development plan is approved, the developer has 90 days to file for a building permit. And the council, there again, has the authority but not the obligation to grant two 90-day extensions for that building permit application. Those extensions, if they're granted, are conditioned, so to speak, on the applicant showing that they've had good faith efforts to complete the application. There's the inability to meet the 90 days is outside of their control, and that they're otherwise in compliance with the other requirements of the ordinance and the development agreement. Once the building permit is issued, the developer must commence construction within 60 days of the permit and substantially complete the development within 24 days. That would be nice if it was 24 days. Within 24 months. And again, the council has the authority to extend that 24-month period to extend by resolution. That would not be an amendment. Again, there would be a need for the developer to show compliance with everything, and that the reason for the extension is outside of the developer's control. So that's the timeline. There was a lot of discussion with the developer on that timeline. The village obviously is excited about the project, wants it to proceed as quickly as possible. I think the developer is as anxious as we are, but wanted to be practical about these timelines and didn't want to set unrealistic expectations. But they can answer any questions about that as well. A few other notable things in the development agreement. The building permit fees, as you all recall, was an issue because the village amended its structure for building permit fees. So the agreement is that the council knows that so long as the applicant meets the deadline for filing for final plan approval, then the building permit fees that were in effect in 2023 will apply to this project. If they're not able to meet that deadline, or they miss that deadline, there's no extension, then the new structure that's in effect now will apply to the project. The east parking lot, east of the project, will have to be improved again, and the developer has agreed, and the requirement in the development agreement, that they contribute $225,000 of the cost to the east parking lot. And that money must be deposited before they are issued a building permit. With regard to the performance security, a lot of discussion about this. The village's standard requirement is for a letter of credit. We worked with the developer, concerns they had regarding the cost and ability to obtain a letter of credit. Instead of a letter of credit, the developers agreed to post a cash escrow with a local banking institution for 110% of the cost of the public improvements. That 110% is a standard number, and it is an escrow, a cash escrow that is a single direction draw cash escrow, and it would give the village the ability to draw on if there is violations of the development agreement with regard to an incomplete building, out of failure to comply with the construction schedule, or failure to reimburse village for costs that the development agreement requires that the developer reimburse. The security would wind down with periodic draws as the developer completes the improvements. So we thought that was a good solution. A cash escrow is not always available, but in this case, the developer felt that that was better than a letter of credit, and we thought that was acceptable. Once the public improvements are done and accepted, that escrow will be replaced by another escrow or a letter of credit, perhaps, for 10% of the actual costs of the public improvements, and that 10% is held by the village for 2 years as a maintenance guarantee to ensure that the public improvements don't have any deficiencies during that guarantee period. 2 other points. The development agreement, like previous development agreement for this project, includes a plan compliance inspector that the village can utilize to monitor the site and ensure compliance, and the developer has a maximum contribution for the cost of the plan compliance inspector of $30,000. The development agreement includes all of the standard liability and indemnification provisions for the village, all of the events of default provisions for the village's benefit, and I think those are the key points.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Does anybody on council here have questions for Peter on the redevelopment agreement?
The applicant here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
None? Okay.
So it's just, as a ball, so it's 180 days is the first number. I'm just trying to walk through in my mind how many months we may, then we'll hear from the applicant what they really think the timeline is going to be.
Yeah, well, I would go to the applicant, because I mean, if the applicant actually, the developer actually goes out the maximum amount of time on each of these deadlines,
right,
and also gets each of these extensions, which they don't have a right to, those are village decisions, then I haven't done the math, but it would extend, if they have 24 months to complete, 3 or 4 years if you extend it all out.
Right.
I don't think that's their intention, but
Right.
that's the maximum possible.
That's why I want to hear from them, say specifically on that.
Others? No? Okay, well, would the applicant like to address? Come on up.
Deirdre Klein, representing Murphy Real Estate Services. So I can speak to the schedule a little bit there. Our intention is to get back in for final approvals around this summer, but knowing that there's still some due diligence that we have to do, including some geotechnical and borings, things that could impact design, including structural, that also then tie in with our MEP design, which impacts civil design as well, which is included in that final engineering plan that's required for the final PD submission. We wanted to have a little bit of a buffer. So that's kind of I can't give you an exact date, but our goal is to be back in here in the next few months.
Okay. All right.
Is that just
That's
for
the
the
first- that's the
final?
fir-
Okay, and then
That's the
from
first
there?
part. Okay. And say it is a summer, and we
Yes.
get this approved.
And then one thing that I don't think Peter touched on was we had also agreed upon a twofold permit submission process. So we're anticipating that we'll submit for the foundation, the demo and foundation permit initially, which should have a shorter turnaround time, I think, from village review or third-party reviews, and we can start to get working on that while we complete some of the additional construction documents, if there's the bidding process, all of that. And so hopefully we would then, our goal would be early 2025 that we would be kind of breaking ground, if not a little bit sooner. But again, there's everything is kind of, there's a domino effect. So, but that's the intention. And I think we included some tentative dates in that schedule. And then as far as construction, right now we've been quoted at about 17 months to complete from start to finish. That's including demolition and all of that.
Others?
That's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, so you haven't done your construction drawings yet? Or you
No,
have?
so all that we've done is it's kind of a schematic design plus set.
Okay.
And so we still need to get into design development, but really the critical thing I think that is needed for the final PD submission is the final engineering plans, and specifically civil engineering, that will require us to advance the architectural design as well as structural MEPs, all of those as well. And so, we'll need several weeks to to get back in here, if not a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, you got a pretty tight schedule. I mean, and to find out we haven't done soil boring or geotech, I'm a little bit surprised. Hopefully, somebody else in one of the previous approvals had gotten some soil borings and things.
We have some initial ones,
Okay.
but just based on where the buildings are located and how to access it, we've gotten a quote to do a handful of other ones to get some further
Okay,
information.
thanks.
I think one of the differences here between past iterations and current is that I think some of us have a lot of confidence in the development team. So that's encouraging for sure. I actually did, as Peter knows, because I talked to him about this, I actually did do the math if everything was extended out, just so the residents know what the time frame could be. And my rough math is that if everything was extended, we'd be looking at June of '28 as opposed to the summer of '26. That's not what you want. That's not what we want. That's clearly not what you're expecting.
No, that would be, yes, a very serious exacerbating circumstances, but
Okay.
again, it gives us, helps
Understood.
us protect from that risk.
I mean, we went
yeah.
through a lot of extensions with previous developers. So July of '26, to Tina's point, is that ambitious to think that July of '26 you're going to be renting units over there?
Not based on timelines that we've been given, both from the architect in terms of what's needed to complete their drawings, and we know that from a general contracting perspective, there's a lot of availability and eagerness for work right now, and so I think as soon as the drawings are there, we'll be happy to get started.
Great. Okay.
So.
Terrific.
I think as we do that, I think we have to look at our own process to make sure we don't hold them up in any way, if possible as well, which I know you guys are all focused on as well, so it has to be both ways.
Maybe, Rob, you can talk about that. It sounds like we're going to outsource some of the plan review to help expedite, because they said third party.
Yeah, David, you want to handle, there's obviously the outside plan compliance inspector, but we've actually increased our staffing this year for the outsourcing. But go
Okay.
ahead, David.
Yeah, so we use Safe Built for all our plan reviews. The person who does our typical plan reviews, he can handle a good portion of this, but some will need to rely on other Safe Built staff. So that's what's being referred to in terms of sending out.
That sounds like a really bad sound.
That's ominous.
Things landing in the village.
Just to wrap that up, that sounds like, there we
Yep.
go. It sounds like it's scalable, Rob, the way you've designed it, so that, as,
It is,
So that-
actually.
that
So,
we're
so with the
keeping pace.
contractual basis, we can scale up or scale down depending on how busy we are. We did increase the baseline number of hours of Safe Built in this budget year from in the 30s to actually full-time person being with the village every day. But then we can add more resources as the projects come in.
Anybody else? Okay. Public comment. John, now come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Phelan. I live at 711 Oak. I'm also the president of the association over there, and excuse me, that's the capacity I am here tonight in. We're all in on this for 711. We'd like to thank the Village of Winnetka, the Village Council, John Murphy of Murphy Development, John Talty of OKW Architects for working with us, listening to us, and taking on our concerns in putting together the ordinance and the resolution for One Winnetka. We look forward to our new neighbors and a vast improvement on the Lincoln and Elm area. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Would anybody else like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. And sorry, I've got a long script tonight, folks. Okay, any other discussion, comments? I think we let the air out of the balloon last week pretty well, right? So, okay, I'll just move forward then. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M1 2024?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
Trustee Orsic.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Albinson.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Excellent. That motion carries, and now the sidecar to that is resolution number R35 2024, approving a development agreement for One Winnetka. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R35 2024?
So moved.
Second?
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
Trustee Orsic.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
That motion carries. Good luck. Go build something, okay? Yeah, it's nice to get it out of here. Oh, wait. Hal, could you ask Deirdre to come back here? Just one. I'm getting calls from some residents on who they should contact about the project. I gave one person to you already. Is that okay? Okay. I'll continue to do that then. Thanks, Deirdre. Okey dokey. Next item up is resolution number R37 2024, approving a final plat of subdivision, 1112 and 1140 Willow Road, and resolution number R36 2020. What the heck is this now? Oh. And resolution number R36 2024, granting an amendment to a special use and certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a building addition to an existing school within the R2 single-family residential district at Crow Island School for public hearing and adoption. We've got a lot of stuff here. Okey doke, here we go. A public hearing on the resolution granting an amendment to the existing special use permit and granting a certificate of appropriateness has been advertised for tonight's meeting. Council will consider two resolutions related to the proposed improvements at Crow Island Elementary School, approving a final plat of subdivision, followed by the approval of an amendment allowing the proposed addition at Crow Island School. The public hearing on the boy, they give me a lot to say here. The public hearing on proposed improvements at Crow Island Elementary School is now open. Village Attorney Peter Friedman will review the guidelines for the public hearing tonight. Thank goodness.
I think it'll be relatively simple. We'll open it up, which you already have. The village staff will provide some background. The council can ask questions. Then you can provide for public comment as part of the public hearing. Once all of that is done, you can see if there are any further questions, and then you can close the public hearing. Yeah. Yes.
We have a swearing in tonight, too? Who does that? I've never done that. Okay, since this is a public hearing, I need to administer an oath. So would everybody who intends to provide comment or testimony tonight in this manner, please raise your right hand and say "I do" after the oath. Looks good. Okay, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, and our Assistant Community Development Director, Ann Clausen's back at the mic to walk us through this one.
Thank you, President Rentz. So as you just noted, this evening you're holding the public hearing and considering two resolutions associated with the proposed improvements at Crow Island Elementary School. One resolution would approve the final plat of subdivision. The other would approve an amendment to a special use and a certificate of appropriateness to allow the proposed addition to the school. The subject property is zoned R2 single-family residential, and it is bordered by R2 to the south, R5 single-family residential to the north, and R4 single-family residential to the east and west. Park facilities and public elementary schools are allowed special uses in the R2 district. The zoning ordinance does establish special procedures for a public agency that, one, is serving all or part of the village, and two, has entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the village related to construction of stormwater improvements. The special procedures allow for such a public agency requesting zoning and other relief that is required to be approved by the village council, that the council be the public body to conduct the necessary public hearings on the special use permits, variations, and certificates of appropriateness. Therefore, the council is conducting the public hearing this evening for the special use and their certificate of appropriateness submitted by District 36 for the proposed improvements at Crow Island Elementary School, not the advisory bodies. However, subdivisions and plats of consolidations do require review by the Plan Commission first and then approval by the Village Council. As you may recall, in January of 2020, the council adopted two resolutions related to the village stormwater project. The first being Resolution R1 2020 approved an intergovernmental agreement, a cooperation agreement between District 36 and the village. And the second resolution was R2 2020, which approved variations related to the potential future school-related improvements within the potential building zone, which is identified in the image on the right here. Given part of the village stormwater project is being constructed on open space owned by District 36 at Crow Island School, and that the district was anticipating improvements to the school, Resolution R2 2020 granted certain baseline zoning variations for the proposed school improvements, such as lot coverage, gross floor area, and minimum side yard setback. Now, since the adoption of this resolution, District 36 and the Winnetka Park District have entered into an agreement to relocate the lot line between the two properties. The acquisition of additional lot area by District 36 increases the maximum permitted lot coverage and gross floor area. However, even with the larger lot area and new maximum permitted lot coverage and gross floor area, the approved variations by R2 2020 are still necessary for the proposed project. The proposed improvements currently before you this evening are all within those limits that were approved with the variations in R2 2020. So the Park District is conveying portions of Crow Island Woods Park, that parcel, to the Winnetka Public School District 36. The additional land acquired by District 36 would accommodate this proposed building addition. The square footage of that additional lot area is approximately 34,500 square feet. And in terms of the final plat of subdivision, the Village Water and Electric Department is requiring an easement to cover the electric service line to the log house which crosses what will become school property. Additionally, the village engineering department is requiring an easement to cover the public storm sewer. These necessary easements are provided on the final plat of subdivision. The Plan Commission did review the proposed subdivision back on September 27th and recommended approval of the subdivision with a vote of 5-0. Now, in terms of the proposed addition itself, it would consist of 3 classrooms, a gymnasium, and several restrooms. The proposed improvements also include renovations to the existing gym to create a cafeteria or a multi-purpose room, renovation of the existing library, infrastructure improvements, air conditioning, and creation of a secure entry vestibule, as well as other security upgrades. So to accommodate the proposed addition, the temporary classroom trailer and the covered walkway would be removed. And since the agenda packet was distributed, in fact, this afternoon, the applicant did withdraw its request to add a new driveway off of Glendale Avenue to access the existing asphalt play surface located on the southern portion of the school property to provide the after-hours event parking, hence the red cross over the representation of the proposed after-hours parking area. The applicant is also eliminating the parking lot lighting from its request this evening. Should the district choose to move forward with those improvements, they would need to come back to the village council for the necessary approval. Located immediately east of the proposed addition, it's kind of difficult to see in this image, but a new playground is also proposed between the proposed addition and the existing asphalt play area. The play equipment for this new playground will require a review by the village council at a future meeting as well. The existing mechanical equipment, there's an enclosure located in the corner where the primary wing of the school connects with the east wing of the school. That would be replaced with new equipment, as well as an enclosure with an acoustic louvered wall. The blue line that hopefully you can see here is representing a proposed ornamental fence that would be black and measure 4 feet in height. In terms of the overall plan and the project and its impact, the district has stated that the proposed project is not intended to increase enrollment. Rather, it is to provide needed space and improvements to the existing school building. A more detailed plan is included in your packet, but we just wanted to provide a slide here representing the proposed addition. It does represent an increase in GFA of approximately 14,500 square feet, as well as an increase of about 8,400 square feet of roofed lot coverage. In regard to the design, the exterior of the proposed addition would mimic the color and texture of the existing building's brick. The walls, the eaves, the metal copings, the wood fascia, doors, and windows. The intent is for the design to fit seamlessly. As some of you are probably already aware, Crow Island School is designated as a National Historic Landmark. Designation as such automatically places a property on the National Register of Historic Places. The district has provided a letter, which is included in your agenda packet, from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources approving the proposed plan. The applicant has also provided renderings of the proposed addition, which are also included in your packet. These are 2 of them seen here. And here are some additional renderings of the proposed addition. In terms of landscaping, the existing landscaping on the site would remain, except for the landscaping where the village stormwater vault is being located. So after hearing from the applicant and any members of the public, the council may wish to consider adopting the resolution approving the re-subdivision of Crow Island School in Crow Island Woods Park, and a motion to adopt Resolution R3624, subject to the resolution and all of its exhibits being amended to eliminate all references to the existing hard surface playground area located on the southeast corner of the school property from being used for the after-hours parking. This also includes elimination of the proposed driveway to and the proposed lighting for that playground area. And I have nothing further. We did receive public comment that has been provided to you this evening, some in your packet and some subsequent to the posting of the packet.
Great. Okay, any questions for Ann on the zoning technicalities? None? Okay, would the applicant like to address the council? Brad, you guys got anything you want to say, or?
We're very excited to bring this before the council this evening. We've been working on this for a number of years, virtually since I began in the district back in 2017 when we started our first referendum effort. It's finally wonderful to see this come to light with our partners at Perkins and Will. We have a new construction manager on site, Bowling Andrews. They're here this evening, and our board members, board member Emily Rose is here to answer any questions you may have regarding the project, but we're very excited of how this turned out. We impressed the State Historic Commission. We've been working with our stewardship group, those local lovers of Crow Island and keeping its historic nature, and they're excited by the improvements as well. So we look forward to any questions you have on the project.
Have you cleared the state yet?
Have we cleared what?
The state.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, we did. Not an easy thing to do.
No, it isn't.
No.
Good job.
Yeah.
Any questions for Brad?
I have just a quick question.
Sure.
So the log house, that's owned by the Historical Society, is that right? Is there an agreement right now between the Park District and the log house in terms of access to the property? And will that automatically then segue over to the school district, or how do they fit into this?
No, that is remaining on Park District property and will remain under the Winnetka Historic. No, the land that is being conveyed is currently a playground that we utilize. We've had an easement in place for years. And then the sliver of land that we need for the addition is what is being conveyed.
I misheard that. Okay, thank you.
Others? Go ahead.
If I'm seeing the drawing correctly, the whole school property is now going to be surrounded with an ornamental fence, is that right?
Correct. Up until the point where we already have a fence in place on the kindergarten playground. We do have issues with students eloping into the woods. And for the safety and security of the students, we feel it's best to have an ornamental fence in place for the safety and protection of the students.
Okay, but outside of school hours on the weekends, I mean, dads can take their kids in to learn to ride the
Absolutely.
bike on the playground and everything. It's not
It will
off
be open to
limits
the public
community.
from dawn until dusk. No dogs allowed, but people can come on the property and use our play equipment, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think it's a great design. I think it's, wonderful to see this come to fruition after a long time, so I'm in support.
Great. Kirk, you look like you were getting ready. No? Anybody else? Thanks, Brad.
Absolutely.
It's a big project night.
It certainly is. Okay, I think it's time for public comment, right? I'm lost, I'm sorry. Applicant. Oh, I will now call those who signed up to speak. So, Karen, you started out tonight, so I'm going to let you go ahead and, no, you're first on my list. Go ahead.
South border of the park, where the school and the park meet? No, I think it was the second to last,
Oh, the second,
at the other end?
Or not at the beginning, but
No, at the very end. Yeah, backwards. Right, that's the east?
This is the addition.
My main concern is the east border of where Crow Island Woods and the school join. There's a very large line of huge trees, and I believe that is involved in this transfer of real estate. Is that correct? So I know the village has some authority over tree destruction, and I'm very concerned that that southern border of trees will be taken out and a fence replaced by a fence, apparently.
Karen, I'm not sure I understand what you're talking
You
about.
just said they were going to put an ornamental fence around the school?
Around the entire perimeter, right?
Okay. So where right now, there's between the school and the Coeur d'Alene Woods, there's a big line of trees that are about 120 feet tall, maybe 100 feet tall. So those will be conveyed to the school?
Yes?
Brad?
We are limiting what we're needing to take down as far as trees. We do need to take down 2 cottonwoods due to encroaching on the area where the addition is going to be put. Other than that, there's a few other trees that will need to be taken down that are smaller but will be replaced. We had the arborist from the village come out and evaluate it and indicated that the smaller trees, obviously the cottonwoods that are larger, unfortunately, will need to come down. But beyond that, there's some other smaller trees that are not as grand as oaks, but smaller, that will be replaced in kind on the property. They'll come out and evaluate that, a landscaping plan when that happens. As you, I think on the south side of the project, where the village work is going on now with stormwater, that will be replaced with a berm and landscaping, and that plan, that is in the board packet tonight. That design is in there as well. So there is no changes to the east side of the property along Glendale. That berm will remain in place, and there will be no trees needing to be taken out for that portion of the work. So that will remain in place.
Okay, so.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, could you explain why you need that large corner piece in the front?
This isn't question and answer.
All right,
I'm sorry,
well,
Karen.
my concern is.
You have to give us your comments.
That big square area that they are trying to get this piece of land for future parking. And I'd like to make sure that I have no idea what the Park District is planning for Coeur d'Alene Woods. I know there's a stormwater project going on, which is huge. And I don't know what their vision of woods are. I'm concerned the school will clear cut that line that separates the park and the school. I think it would be lasting damage. Already they took away a big line. I guess the berm's going to replace it, but they put little dinky new trees in, and that stuff looks great on paper, but it's a disaster for the aesthetics and the history of large old growth trees in Coeur d'Alene Woods.
Thank you, Karen.
So if the village can protect those trees, they protect trees on private properties. I've had to get permission to have them take it down. Good design can solve a lot of problems. And clear cutting looks great on paper and little dinky replacement drawings, but it's not the same thing. So I just urge great sensitivity. This is an intergovernmental project, and I don't think one agency should railroad the other, that they should work together as well as the village did with the stormwater at Hibbard and Willow going over with the new river park over there. It was going to be clear cut originally, and then there was negotiation, and it was limited cut. So on behalf of everybody who goes by, I'm just giving my points.
Thank you. Okay, now I've got Rick Young. Brad, you've already spoken. Steve Corcoran, you part of the team too? I don't know all the players. Christina?
My name is Christina Cotto, And I just wanted to speak in support of this partnership between District 36, the Village, and the Winnetka Park District. This is exactly what the caucus survey listed as its #1 priority. It's a great coordination of efforts together with the Stormwater Project organized by the Village trustees. We've got an expansion of Crow Island. We've got a correct conveyance of a 70-year-old agreement to give Crow Island the first grade playground that they've used for 70 years. So let's make that clearly theirs to maintain and take us out of that liability chain. And we've got a slightly bigger gym that we can share with them because the Park District doesn't have any gyms. So from our perspective, I believe it's a big win, and I believe it's exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
Thanks, Christina. Andrea Johnson.
Hi, I'm Andrea Johnson. I live at 303 Glendale, ground zero. So I see everything going on right across the street from my house. I think you gave me really good news that I have to thank you. No lights and no drive. Is that correct? On that parking lot issue.
So they've withdrawn those items from this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was why I was here. My other concern is, and I think you addressed it, is that are you going to put a berm in front of that area that was there on Glendale?
Yeah. Ann, do you have that rendering buried in your PowerPoint stack there? For the berm?
Is there a berm, because I'm speaking for other neighbors too, I have to go home and go back and. Okay, but right now it's really flat because they took out all the trees and sort of the berm because they're doing the stormwater? No, the Mount Pleasant side and on my side, right across, I'm right at Mount Pleasant and Glendale.
Jim was here.
This is an exhibit. Are you talking about this berm? Here's Mount Pleasant and Glendale?
Here,
Right, the
I'm
corner?
right here.
Yep,
And this,
on
yeah,
this.
right here. Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
And is this right here going to be a berm?
That is not being touched. The only thing that was that berm along the south side, and this was a copy of it.
Yes, but we had a berm on the east side where my house was, and that has been touched. And my neighbor and I would like some landscaping there, like what you just showed me, on that side as well. I'm just requesting that. She's requesting that. I'm speaking for Shannon Pope. And you took out some of it, and if it would just be replaced, now that you're not putting a driveway there, it would be really nice if that was replaced, because it's definitely what she was talking about, a tree line taken out. You can really definitely see it. My last thing I want to tell you guys is the fence fell today, and it's totally down in front of the stormwater thing. So there's a big hole, and all the trucks are exposed. So tomorrow the students will be coming, and that has to be, I think, put back up. So anyway, I don't have as much to say because you fixed it for me. I'm so happy. Thank you.
That's all the speakers I have on the list. Would anybody else like to come on up?
So Emily Rose, President of the School Board right now. I just want to say thank you for having us tonight. This has been a long road. You've been with us this whole time. I was in here before the referendum passed, explained the project. I hope you're happy with the amazing design work that Perkins and Will has put forward. We're really excited about all the improvements that the community will have and that the school will have. And we have Luke Livingston, the principal of Crow Island, here tonight to support the project. And I'm really thrilled that we're going to be able to get all of this work underway this summer. And so I appreciate your support. And if you have any questions for us, I'm happy to take them. But yeah, we've communicated with the neighbors. I know you asked that of Sacred Heart. We have shared that on our website. We do have continued information provided, and there's renderings and whatnot on the website should any residents want some more information. So, thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Last call? I will now close public comment. Now, I know I'm supposed to close the public hearing at some point, so. As there are no further comments or testimony from the public, I will now declare that this public hearing is now closed. Now we'll bring it up to council. What are you guys thinking?
I probably most recently had a child at Crow Island, and this is long overdue. It's such a wonderful school and a treasure to the community. And from what I can see from the drawings, it looks like they've really kept with the historical nature of the building. And I know how hard it is to get these plans done with this designation. So I had some concerns about the lights, and that's been taken care of. So I think it looks great, and it's ready to go.
Kim, you look like you were ready to jump. No?
Mike, Kim, your mic.
But that's taken care of. I think it looks like a great plan, and excited to support it.
Awesome.
Same. I don't want to be redundant, but yeah, I thought it was a great plan with the exception of I was concerned about lights and parking. And so we're addressed.
I would agree with that. We did, I think we all took the public comments that came in seriously, because that is definitely a neighborhood location, like all the elementary schools are located within. And some of the issues, obviously the lights and the parking were important on all the public comments, but there were some other issues related to communications with the school district and that type of thing. And I guess my question would be, if this were not, I think it's a great plan, so it will be approved. But if it's introduced, not adopted, in that interim period, could these neighbors, is there a point person? I know, Emily, you mentioned that they can go to the website and that type of thing, but is there a person that they can call to talk about concerns, whether it's the berm or other issues that were mentioned in the public comment we received? I mean, in the interim period, they could call and actually talk to a person and get some communication. Okay. I think that would be kind of nice, actually.
I'll go next. I think it's a gorgeous building, beautiful plan, well thought out. I do have a question. The parking lot and the lighting was removed from tonight's consideration. Is the school district contemplating reintroducing those elements in the future?
We had originally brought it before the board we had bid it out, and we're unable to fit it within the cost structure of our plan, so that's why we've taken it off the table. We haven't made a decision as to whether we are going to pursue that down the road, but anything we would do, we would involve the neighbors and make sure they're aware of how it would function and what it would look like, and ensure them that any plans going forward would be made public with that.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
I jumped the gun earlier, but I just wanted to reference, it sounds like a little bit of confusion, just so, because I think there was a concern expressed by Ms. Kennedy about the land grab or clear cutting. It looks like the transfer, I just want to clarify for the record, which I think has been handled, it's just conveying the portion of the playground that was owned by the Park District but utilized through a license or maybe an easement agreement for 70 years. They're just transferring that to the actual school district. And then, it sounds like they've done a good job to try to maintain the vegetation in Cottonwoods after I just took one down, they're not a high quality, they're beautiful, but they're not a high quality tree. So I didn't have as much concerns about that. I think this is a great plan. I didn't have kids at this school. As you all know, my kids went to Hubbard Woods, but when I'd go there for meetings and you'd walk through the vestibule and you'd see kids eating their lunch in the vestibule for what, like 25, 35 years? This is really long overdue, and just, commend the school district for finally getting this done. Big supporter.
Okay. Okay. I think it's a great project too. And I really appreciate the school district and the park district being good partners in that neck of the woods to get a lot of good things done for this community. I mean, the school's going to last a long time. And the good news is people will be able to get to school when it rains now too. So we all have something to get out of this. So anyway, all right, I think we've beaten this up enough. So I'll just move forward and ask for a motion to adopt resolution number R37, 2024.
So moved.
Second. We're all jumping to adopt
I'll
it.
let Bridget second
Wow.
it. Yes.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn? Yes. Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee App?
Yes.
That motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. One more. Oh, yeah, on this thing. Resolution number R36, 2024, granting an amendment to a special. Am I on the right thing here now? Sorry, folks, there's a lot here tonight. Okay. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R36, 2024, subject to the resolution of all of its exhibits being amended to eliminate the references to existing hard surface playground area from being used as an after-hour parking. This includes eliminating the proposed driveway to and the proposed lighting for that playground area. I need that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
That motion carries. Now I can congratulate you. Thank you for your partnership. All right, item 9 tonight, old business, we have none. New business, the March 12th, 2024 study session minutes discussion. Trustee Dearborn requested that the minutes were removed because he wanted to talk about it. So, up to you, Bob.
Okay, thank you. First off, that study session covered two, as we know, two very important topics, post office and the Park District Plan. And we heard from our liaisons in terms of a number of topics, intergovernmental agreements related to stormwater, possible paths for review process. And I think it was such an important discussion that I felt that the minutes should be a little more robust than were presented here. And for me specifically, since I brought up the idea of expanding the scope of the liaison role, I would just like the minutes to better reflect that conversation, the purpose, for which I brought that up, which was to hopefully facilitate good collaboration with the Park District. They have liaisons. We should have liaisons. Our liaisons already have touched on topics outside the scope of stormwater, so I thought just memorializing that, the scope of that role made sense. There didn't seem to be any objection to it, so, and I'm not making a comment that at this point it should happen or not happen, but I would like the minutes to better reflect the nature of the conversation, because I think it's an important conversation that people might someday look at those minutes. So that was my point here. I thought that the sort of the last paragraph on page 9, just sort of lumped in a bunch of topics that really had some meat on the bones that, I just felt should be more elaborate.
Okay.
So that was my opinion.
Could I make a suggestion? Rob, why don't you get together with Bob and get the minutes so that they're good, and we'll just do them next time around.
Okay, and Chris, actually, because Bob opened them, I had a question also. under the post office plaza section, the conclusion is the council consensus was to continue discussion with Studio Gang. And I think that was true, but I felt that the overall conclusion was that,
It was a direction.
was a direction to broaden
Directionally,
our
yeah.
scope to look at perhaps architects with regional or national
Right.
reputations. So I feel like this is giving the impression that we really narrowed down the entire focus to one architect.
You want to just strike that sentence then?
Or,
Yeah.
either strike it or indicate a better indication of the general direction we
As
had
soon as
all
we know the general direction, yeah.
Okay.
agreed on. Did everybody disagree? Does everybody agree?
No, I think,
Yeah.
well, then clarify a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to take a shot at this? As long as we're at it?
Sorry.
That's okay, it's raining out, so the dog doesn't need her walk tonight anyway, so.
Okay, we'll schedule those for the next council meeting as amended.
Okay, thanks. All right, so now we have appointments. There are none this evening, I'm sorry. Item 12, closed session, there's none. And item 13, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Am I kind of